have maybe a pointy question for all of you. Considering the market and the target customers that we're thinking about, would you say there are really new revenue streams coming from NTN? Is this something new and additive, or is it more a case of using this to substitute for existing telecoms and communications revenues? Dan, would you like to start?
Sure. So I grew up in the MNO world too. I grew up at AT&T and Sprint. So we built the industry, right, on terrestrial towers, and it's $1 trillion industry, one of only $5 trillion industries, but revenue is flatlined. We don't have, it's $30 all you can eat. So I think it's a combination. I think at the end of the day, when you connect, the holy grail is connecting standard 3GPP phones to satellites at a cost-effective way. That way you bring people who do not have connectivity to getting connectivity. So those 2 billion people that you talked about, they will have a plan with an MNO. That's more revenue for the MNO. For a prepaid, if you're now lighting up new connectivity, if you're lighting up in Australia, so we have Telstra as well as a partner, so if we're lighting up the Outback and you're going in the Outback with your phone and you have a prepaid plan, well, Telstra will be able to then monetize that. But on the other side, if you are a premium customer of, say, Telstra, then you probably won't pay extra because you're already paying the all-you-can-eat, and it just is a better coverage and it's a competitive advantage. So I think there is generally more revenue because it's more coverage, but yet it's also from an MNO perspective, it's a much more efficient and effective way to extend their geographic coverage.
Okay, so extending service footprint and some additional revenue from what you're saying. Jaume, please.
In our case, all the devices that today have signed up already to be connected, there is no one, or almost no one, that is today connected with other incumbent operators, incumbent satellite operators. It's absolutely new revenue stream that is coming from that connected regions where there is no other way to be connected for this massive IoT needed.
Okay, so definitely, from your point of view, entirely new revenue
exactly.
streams then. So.
Well, not to repeat what has been said, I think there is a notion as well of OPEX saving. So the connectivity you are bringing may not deliver additional revenue, but by helping people to save cost, it will deliver additional value. And I think that the connectivity of the object that coming from the wireless world we have been dreaming about for the past 5 years since we introduced 5G technology is about to come. And I think this notion of OPEX saving is also important because at the end of the day, top line is good, but bringing value that you can monetize is good as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely agree. That's a fair point. And I think, that idea of extending the footprint and extending value through doing that in a eventually cost-effective way is compelling. Isabelle, did you want to comment on this one?
No, because I think as a trade association, revenue is probably not, what my revenue is what they pay us. So, thank you. Keep it coming. But just to say, if you look at the trend, Dan, I didn't even know you were coming from AT&T, and
long time ago,
but still, you come, from. I come from the mobile world, and I think we're seeing this influx of executives coming from the mobile world into the satellite industry. And to me, it's clearly a trend that something is happening there because, we're not a charity. So, let's face it, we're going where we see new opportunities and new business. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very well-observed point. It does seem to be a bit of an influx, which is a good thing, I think, bringing together those two worlds. So that's a nice segue into the next question. If we look at integration of satellite networks into telecoms networks and thinking about GPP standards and thinking about bringing these two formerly disparate and separate networks into one integrated service provider whole, how does that look from your point of view? And I think in particular, interested in thoughts on direct-to-cell and 5G new radio. So is that a game changer in your point of view? And how quickly is that a game changer?
Maybe I will start to say that, I hope satellite industry will be able to reproduce what we have really done well on the ground, which is standardization. Because at the end of the day, the satellite industry was a small industry with a few bunch of people. when we move to connectivity, you really have to hit scale. And I think that we have done that very, very well on the ground, and we need at least to learn the lesson and make sure that, in fact, we take what we have learned for the past 30 years on the ground and bring this to the sky so we can operate in a very efficient way. That would be my point.
Okay, brilliant. Yes, the push for standardization is really key here. Jaume, would you?
I think that this is a trend that is here to stay. Okay, we started 5 years ago in the 3GPP. We have been the #1 contributor from the space industry in the new release 17 of the standard. On that moment, it seems that we were proposing something that it was not logical. Okay, I think that today everybody sees that the trend that it has followed the mobile industry is the most profitable way to give coverage to all these uncovered places.
Fantastic. So Dan, I'm guessing you have strong views on this.
Oh yeah, I do. I have strong views. No, but I mean standardization. I think we all agree that's, that you need that as table stakes. And so when we set out, 7 years ago to bring satellite direct to devices, right? It's all about it had to be direct to a standard device. It couldn't just be the latest and greatest phone. It couldn't be on a spectrum that's not in your phone today, right? You all have an endpoint to our Lynk constellation. That's the key point of it. We don't have to have a new standard or a new, like any 3GPP phone works. So standardization is absolutely important, especially for mass adoption. You do not, we're in 7 countries and you can't have people buying new phones, new $1,000 phones. I mean, these, if you really want to bring people up out of the rural space, you really need to be able to provide them standard devices that connect in a cost-effective way to satellites in a seamless manner. So we're 100% behind the standardization.
No, I think it's quite key. I mean, especially thinking about IoT and NB-IoT and the massive scale of that, it cannot happen without that. So.
And maybe just to add as well, I couldn't agree more about standardization. And in fact, having been in the mobile industry, I know how important it was, because people have forgotten that maybe 20 years ago, the US was TDMA, and we were thinking, okay, how is this going to work? So, and the US at the time was way back, behind Europe. But I think there are 2 other elements as well, and that's where also our cooperation with GSMA is going to be critical. You have standardization, but you also have the technical aspect and the interoperability. And we need to make sure that all these devices are going to speak to each other, and that nothing is going to be dropped somewhere between space and Earth. And then the other thing that is going to be probably more delicate, a bit lengthier in terms of how we speak is spectrum. Because that will still remains the essential part of the oxygen of connecting all these things together. So I think there are different elements, and that's why cooperation is key, because this needs to be a win-win situation for everybody. No matter what model of D2D you are doing, there need to be something for everybody in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, you've given me a nice link into our next question, which is around what are the key challenges for government and for regulators in helping to ensure this space grows and develops well? So spectrum, I think, is certainly one. More comments on that from others would be welcome. What about other concerns as well? Where do you, as operators in the space, need support from government? So Isabelle, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Well, for us, like speaking to regulators and policymakers nearly on a daily basis, I think one of the biggest challenge, and not just with what is happening with NTN and TN connection, we've seen it throughout the evolution of technology, is that technology is always 10 steps ahead of what the policymaker is thinking or doing. Because like if you take any regulation, if it's ITU level, it will take a cycle of 4 years before they get somewhere. So in 2027, which is going to be the next WRC, which I hope in this audience everybody knows, where is the industry going to be? Where is the technology going to be in 20 years? So the biggest challenge, I think, for policymakers is to be flexible enough so that there is enough flexibility to allow innovation to thrive, but at the same time that they give industry, they give the investors the certainty, the regulatory certainty to know that when they invest, that there is going to be a flow there that is going to stay. So I think combining those 2 things for regulators is very challenging, but it's needed to find that balance. And then the other thing is, as we integrate, as we converge, there is an increasing need as well to be technology neutral as a policymaker. You will need to provide a policy framework that works for everybody, that enables every player to have enough spectrum, to be able to interoperate, and to be able to create new business models where everybody, as I was saying, there is not a winner and a loser. Everybody, hopefully, will be winning.
Brilliant. No, totally agree. I think that need for ensuring that there are winners on all sides is tricky, but very critical. Laurence?
I will add security.
Yeah.
I think that cyber security is an increasing risk. Nothing to do with my Palo Alto background, but I really think that securing space is going to be an important topic, both for the industrial, but also for the regulator and the government. Because you can imagine, we have all been watching, movies 20 years ago about, we don't want this to happen. So security and cyber security is also to be one of the challenges we have to face as an ecosystem.
Yeah, no, critical point, absolutely. So thank you for bringing that up. Jaume,
I can give you just the Lynk perspective. So we have 40 MNO partners. Our MNO partners go to the regulator and say, I want to use this terrestrial spectrum to go to a satellite. And the regulators are, well, I never thought about that, right? There's nothing bad about it, just I never thought about that. I don't have in Mongolia this ability to grant you this. Now, they've been in my opinion, regulators have been very forward-leaning on this. From the FCC to ISED to ACMA to the 30 countries that have given our MNO partners the ability to test sat-to-phone capabilities, because they see the incredible benefit of being able to connect ordinary phones, ordinary devices to satellites. And so I've been actually pleasantly surprised in my 30 years of dealing with regulators that the regulators are this far and fast leaning on this. And even the FCC is coming out with a vote on March 14th or something, which I'm positive will be favorable to this sat-to-phone industry. So I think everybody sees the value of it, and so therefore, and like you said, technology is now, the ability to do this from a technology point of view is putting pressure on regulators to do something. But they're uncomfortable, but they're extremely forward-leaning. It's great to see.
Excellent, good to hear. Jaume, thoughts on this?
Our approach in this case, it's different. We have our own spectrum. We believe that the capability of connecting everywhere without having to think if I'm this country or this other, okay, it's important for IoT. Then to deliver this, you have to go through a longer process, okay? But at the end, the result of having your own frequencies everywhere in order to connect direct to device, it's important and it's absolutely essential.
Perfect. All right. We have 1 minute left. Maybe we can go over by a minute. Our last question was really looking ahead. What do you see as the short to medium term and the long term role for NTN in the wider communications ecosystem? So we start with you, Laurence.
Well, as I said, make sure we build value in a sustainable way.
That's nice.
Perfect. Jaume?
We see fully integrated networks, mobile and satellite. Let's hope, that in the future, satellite in Washington and mobile in Barcelona will be just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the fully integrated seamless coverage. Perfect. Okay. Isabelle?
Short term, I see, I see maybe some challenges because we have, new business model, so we'll need to see what works, how it works best. But long term, I can only see benefits of full integration and making sure, a very important word, that we operate in a sustainable way. Inclusive and sustainable integration is what I think is important.
Inclusive.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, I like the inclusive and sustainable, coming back to that theme.
A year ago, we were talking about is this possible, right? And now people want to stream Netflix. I do think that maybe my grandkids, I don't have grandkids yet, but maybe my grandkids wake up and they have their phone and they're connected everywhere and they don't even remember, and they don't care if it's satellite or terrestrial, and they don't even know it's going to a GEO or LEO or terrestrial tower. So I just think that, by again, making it ubiquitous standard communications, that the next generation will probably just grow up in a connected world and they won't know the difference, and that'd be a good thing.
Excellent. More bandwidth for dad jokes then. Good. All right. I think we're out of time. I just want to say thank you very much to our panelists. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your views, and excited to see where we are 12 months from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.